This is Nursing Uncensored. I'm your host, Adrianne Benning, and I invite you to listen in on conversations I've had with real nurses about the crazy and wonderful lives we lead. This podcast is meant to create laughter in addition to serious discussion, and nothing is off limits. We're always honest, but we're not always safe for work. Please listen responsibly. Welcome to Nursing Uncensored. I'm here today with Deanna Mackey, and we are going to have a great conversation today. Deanna is a skilled registered nurse. She's got experience with numerous modalities of nursing. Her extensive experience has allowed her to understand the vital and key components of nursing and the healthcare industry at a deeper level. Deanna is passionate about health and encourages anyone who wishes to improve their state of being to consider juicing in their goal to live a healthier lifestyle. We're going to talk about her work, her life, her book, and whatever else comes up in this conversation. Deanna, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. I'm glad to talk to you. So we are going to talk about a bunch of things today. So first, I always love to get to know people on a little bit of a deeper level. So why don't you tell me and our listeners a little bit about yourself, whatever you want. You're wearing a shirt that says mom on it. So I always like to tap in mom life. So yeah, you're a nurse, you're a mom. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I have a 2-year-old. I actually work from home. Thankfully, I've been blessed with a job like that, especially with the pandemic and everything. So she's been home with me ever since she's been born, because I was already working at home before all of this happened. So I'm used to it by now. And I'm from Maryland. I'm 32 years old. I went to school at VCU in Richmond, Virginia, and I also went to Salisbury for my nursing degree. I like to have fun. I like to work out. I'm really into fitness. Sometimes, I get off the bandwagon a little bit, but I just jump right back on and do it again. But I just like to enjoy life. Before I had her, I loved to travel. I still do. But of course, with the 2-year-old, you don't get to do it as much. That's pretty much.
That's you in the nutshell, huh? Yeah. And I've been looking at I actually started following you a little while ago on Instagram, and I really do like your posts because you're definitely motivating. And I like what you just said, like you fall off the wagon, but then you don't beat yourself up about it. You just get back on. Because that's kind of how it goes. I'm one of those people that I'm like, oh, I screwed up. I guess I'll just start again next week. And then next week turns into the week after that. But it's not the way to do it. So yeah, I got to be better about that, about just forgiving myself and just being like, okay, let's just start again. Let's just do it, start all over again.
Exactly.
So you work from home. Tell me a little bit about how you went from nursing school. What's been your path through nursing? How did that all work out for you?
Well, initially I started off on a psych unit. I was on that for about a year. That was the last place that I saw myself, but that was, trying to get a job as a new nurse is very competitive. You're one of millions trying to get your foot in the door. So thankfully that manager, he was the first one to take a chance on me. And I look back and I can't believe I even did that, the stuff that I went through. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't have the experience. And it really helped me when I transferred to other units, because you still see psych patients no matter what floor you're on.
Yeah. What's that saying? Everywhere is psych. Every nurse is a psych nurse, right? Exactly. So was it inpatient psych or did you do outpatient psych?
It was inpatient psych.
Yeah. I've done clinicals on inpatient psychiatric units, and that's definitely a different kind of nursing. That's challenging for sure.
Exactly. Because you have to really understand their state of mind and knowing when to set a boundary and not getting too close, because you just never know, when their behavior is going to change. So I definitely saw a lot being on that unit for a year. It taught me a lot. Of course, I had, older nurses in every job that I had where, they weren't as welcoming. And like I have in my book, older nurses eat your young, which is a very true thing. And that's not just in nursing, it's in other jobs as well. But I was on psych for a year. Then I transferred to med-surg tele within the same hospital. Honestly, that was kind of like step down ICU because we took care of a lot of like vent patients. So I did that for another year. And then I transferred to another hospital on an observation unit, which is right near the ER. So, it's supposed to be 24-hour stay, 24 to 48 hour stay, whether they go home or they get transferred to another unit. However, when you think you're getting into one thing, it's something totally different. So it really felt like med-surg tele all over again. But my whole plan of doing that was because I ultimately wanted to be a labor and delivery nurse. That's what I've always wanted to do. I just love babies. I love, the thought of helping pregnant women. So that was my goal, but I never got there. So after about a year there, I decided, I don't know if I really want to be in a hospital anymore. It takes a toll on a nurse because we're required to do so much, so many people's jobs. And then you can't even really have a bond with your patients like you think you're going to have because you're so focused on, I got to hurry up and document this. Oh, did I do that? Did I do this? And, all the requirements you have to do based on what the hospital needs you to do. And you're really not getting that one-on-one with your patient. And it's pretty sad. So I then moved on to the OR in another hospital, and that was a shit show, really. But yeah, I did that for 4 months, and it wasn't for me. And then I transferred to the job that I have now. So now I'm in health insurance. So I love my job. It's so relaxing. It's much more flexible. Like just a little bit of stress that I have in a day's work is nothing compared to the stress level I had working in the hospital. But I always say that I'm very thankful that I did get those 3.5 years of hospital experience because a lot of people, there's some nurses that don't. They might go straight to a job where they're not doing any kind of clinical work. So I'm glad I got the background because it honestly helped me a lot with this job, even though, you're really just looking at medical records. So that's the only way you're really able to have some kind of connection with the patient member rather than seeing them in person. But having that hospital experience really helped me to transition into this job.
I was just talking with a friend last night. That's the beauty of nursing, is that there really is an opportunity for so many different settings.
Right.
Like if the hospital is too much for, some people thrive on that hospital setting. Like I'm one of those people that like I've been in a hospital setting for, as a nurse, 5 years. Before that, as a nursing assistant, 11 years. And even though I've had periods of burnout, I've kind of found that sweet spot in terms of like how many hours I can work and without feeling, that tremendous sense of like, I can't do this anymore. But that's the beautiful thing is that you don't have to be in that setting. And it sounds like you found the spot that is like ideal for you and your lifestyle. But before we talk about the setting you're in now, I want to back up for two things I want to talk about. One is I don't want to focus on the negative, but I do want to talk about the realities of nursing. So you mentioned that you had experiences with like older nurses eating their young. This is something that has been a problem in nursing probably for as long as nursing has existed, and is something that while there are a lot of really fantastic nurses that are welcoming and want to give new nurses a great start, there are also, the reality is there are a lot of nurses that are going to try to eat you. So would you talk just a little bit about, maybe not in super specifics, but would you talk a little bit about the experience you had and how that made you feel as a new nurse?
Sure. So this is one thing that I actually talk about in my book when I was on one of the units and I had just got off of orientation. So, when you just get off of orientation, you always get something that you didn't get exposed to while you were with somebody. So basically it was a rough night for me. The patients that I got, once I really looked at their charts and everything, and I already had gotten a report. The nurse had already left. That gave me a report, and I'm looking and I'm seeing all these things that she didn't do. in that particular hospital, it was still kind of archaic. Like, we still used the charts, like we still wrote and signed in the charts. It wasn't a lot of computer documentation. Mm-hmm. So, once you sign off, basically, you've read everything up until that point and you've done everything that you're supposed to do. So, and I've signed off that, I'm taking on these patients, and I'm realizing one patient, his blood sugar wasn't even taken the whole time. He was a new patient on the unit, and he had been there long enough for her to take a blood sugar check, and it wasn't taken. And it was actually 2 patients. And, thankfully, when I checked it, it wasn't like sky high. I mean, he still needed insulin, but it wasn't, an emergency. And then there was another patient that I had from her that had a lot of lab work, tests, stuff that needed to be done that she never did. And it was, if I can remember correctly, it was written like at 2:00. I'm coming on at 7:00 because I work night shift. And I'm just like,
that's not very stat.
No. So she really screwed me over. And so thankfully, anytime I was scheduled, they still did the schedule where I was with somebody that I felt comfortable, that, kind of had my back. So there was this other nurse that I was close with, and she helped me, get everything done. And she told me, she said, if I were you, I would document all this stuff that wasn't done. And so I'm the type of person where I don't like getting people in trouble and stuff like that if I really don't need to. And something like that is really huge. But then what happened was that same nurse that I got a report from, she ended up calling the unit like around 2:00 in the morning. Mind you, she had to be back that morning at 7:00. So why are you calling? And she's asking if all the stuff got done. So do you have a guilty conscience because you didn't do it? Mm-hmm. So I'm getting really ticked off. And so I just dropped the phone down because I just was like, I can't believe, I'm really confused. I'm a new nurse. So I'm just like, is this really happening to me right now? And so another nurse picked up the phone and started talking to her. And after they got off the phone with her, they told me that she was basically bad mouthing me and telling me that I'm a bad nurse and all this. So that just really made the decision for me, okay, I'm definitely going to write all this up. So when my manager gets here in the morning, we're going to go over all this. And that's exactly what happened. And you can read more of what occurred after that in my book, but that's one
your book, which is called, for those that can't see us,
Nursing at Its Finest.
Yeah. Nursing at its finest. So you write more about these experiences, but stuff like that. I mean, it's really unfortunate when there are some nurses that do know how to play the system. They know how to get away with, I'm just going to sneak out, let her sign off on this, let her take responsibility. And also with that particular story, I'm like, oh, you're calling 12 hours later after the orders were written to see if what you were supposed to be doing got done by somebody else. Exactly. If you're that worried about it, why'd you wait 12 hours? Why didn't you handle it? So there are definitely circumstances where, when you're new, you may not know that you should be checking up on people. You trust that the nurses that you're getting a report from aren't going to leave you with stuff from 5 hours before. And as a new nurse, you don't come on with that mentality of I have to protect myself from other nurses. You assume that these nurses are here to be part of your team and set you up to be another strong team member, So, I don't want to discourage people listening that are in nursing school or thinking about nursing school from being nurses, but it's you got to be aware that this stuff does happen.
Exactly.
So so these experiences do occur, but you can't be afraid to stick up for yourself, to write those things up, to talk to your manager, and to know who your allies are and who you're going to go to and be like, look, I kind of got screwed at the beginning of this shift. Can you help me catch up? Can you help me get these labs? Can you help me? Because I know as a new nurse would have been like, oh my God, I have all this to do. Plus I have my regular tasks. Plus I have to get my assessments done. And this is going to back me up and this is going to slow me down. My normal flow of my night is totally thrown off. That's that throws you off. That psychs you out. So I'm sorry those experiences happen to you. That kind of stuff is unfortunately all too common. But I hope that people listening to this are listening to it going, oh shit, maybe I did something like that to a new nurse. And maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. Maybe I shouldn't do that kind of stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So now my next question is, I'm curious, the shit show in the OR, because I've never worked in the OR. Some people love the OR. Even the people that love the OR say sometimes it is like a totally different planet. I've heard stories of like surgeons throwing shit and like screaming and like, but I've also heard stories of like people like turning the tunes up and like dancing when they're prepping the room. So I've heard like all these different environments in the OR. What was your experience like? Give me a couple highlights.
Well, for me, the reason why I even tried it is because that's what initially got me interested in nursing, just watching those shows back in the day with my dad, especially Life in the ER, when they show real gory stuff on TV. I'll show you that now. So I was just always fascinated with just inside the human body, just seeing how it all works and how it functions. And it just amazes me that these surgeons have these hands that can, just do miracles on people. So that was really why I said, you know what, let me try this. So, and I actually had a friend from nursing school who she's still like in peri-op nursing, but she started off in the OR. And she told me her stories too, like, a lot of the stuff that happened to me in a short time. So I was kind of hesitant to even do it, but I was like, you only live life once, just try it, see what happens, but don't like it, try something else. So basically this particular program, they hire like a group of like 6 nurses every 6 weeks or something. So once I got there, I realized like they have a real bad turnover rate.
Like a rotating door, quite literally.
Yes. And like some of the leads, they were real nice in the beginning, and then, their attitude totally changed. And then you're supposed to be on orientation for 9 months. Within like a month, you're not even with this, obviously the same person every time. You're literally with different people like all the time, because they don't even, most of the staff weren't even actual staff. A lot of them were travelers. So basically we were with different people all the time. So depending on the vibe between you and that person, it might not be the best vibe. You might, not mesh well. So that could be an issue. And then on top of that with the surgeons. So what I can say, what I experienced, not only for me, but watching somebody else. For me, one time because we alternated, we had to learn how to be the scrub and the circulator. And, the scrub is obviously the one that's up, passing the instruments to the surgeon. So one day I was being a scrub to this one particular surgeon that he just has a bad attitude. So his normal scrub was out for the day. And so it was somebody else that I was following that I was with before. And I really liked the person that I was following, but they're kind of like more timid, and the scrub that he normally has, like, is on him, like, hey, don't, is on the surgeon, but he wasn't there that day. So I'm just like, I hope he doesn't start anything, because I don't have time for somebody to be talking to me crazy. So basically, I guess he wasn't liking the way that I was passing the instruments to him. Every surgeon's different. So he was getting frustrated, and he like smacked my hand. And I'm like, no, don't touch me. Don't do that. Don't ever do that again. And then he just started like going off like, you're not you need to pass it like this. Like it just infuriated me. So, and like, I'm the type of person, when I get mad, my eyes start to tear up. Not like I'm sad or whatever. It's
frustration.
Yes, yeah. I'm very frustrated. And so my preceptor was like, do you need a minute? And I'm like, no, because I didn't want that surgeon to see me as weak. And I felt like if I just left the room in that instance, he would think that I'm weak. Like I can't take somebody talking to me like that. And it wasn't that. It's just, I don't have the tolerance. Everybody needs to be respected. And this goes back to the whole, older nurses eat your young. Like people act like because you've been in something for so many years that you forget where you started from. Mm-hmm. You were new once too. You were learning too. So just teach me. If it's not the way you like it, tell me how you like it. And you can talk to me, in a better
be civil. Way. Yeah,
exactly. So I noticed like I just couldn't like hold back my tears. So, and I didn't want it to drop on the surgical field. So I just I told my priest, I was just like, I need a minute. So I just walked out, and then they just started rolling, and the circulator in the room, she like followed me. She's like, are you okay? She's like, please, he doesn't normally act that way. I'm like, yes, he does, girl.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She was like trying to get me to come back in the room. I'm like, no, not right now. So I just went to the locker room, and I guess the educator must have overheard. So she came in and, told me when I'm ready to talk to her, come talk to her. So I went to talk to her about the whole situation, and they've had plenty of complaints about this particular surgeon. So they said they would talk to him, the director and all that. And they said they did, but I'm sure he's still doing the same old thing. So, and I did have to go in the room with him again, and it wasn't that way. But this time his normal scrub was in there. But I also saw other instances where other scrubs were being yelled at, and they were like seasoned. It's just, the surgeons sometimes they're just really nasty. If you don't have exactly what they want, how they want it, and you don't always know how they want it, because depending on the surgery center that you're in, like that particular one, they had cards written up, but not everything is organized. The cards could be old of the instructions at how they want things, or a surgeon can want something. It could be the same surgery and they want it one way this time, and the next time they want to use something different. Like it could be a suture that they might, a particular brand of suture, they don't want to use that one. They want to use the other one, but you don't really know until you start the case. So,
and it's not like you can just be like, oh, here, let me run out of the room and get it. Yeah. Like you're scrubbed in. So you can't just be like, let me pull that out of my butt for you. I mean, sorry to be colorful, but it's like, what do you want me to do, bro? Like what you want? You want what I got right here, or you want to throw something at me? Like, come on.
Exactly. And it's like you have an unconscious patient on the table right now. Like, what is the purpose of everybody being all high strung, arguing over the patient, and then you're sitting here disrespecting this person in front of the whole room? Like, that's embarrassing. You could just pull them aside afterwards and talk to them.
Also, like, you don't want to throw off somebody's concentration like that. You don't like something, don't make the person cry. Like, you don't need to scream at somebody. You don't need to distract them, throw them off their game, because then how are they going to perform? Then he probably had to stop and wait for somebody else to take your position when he could have just been civil to you and avoided that whole fucking production. Pardon my language. But like, that's just the thing. It's like, if you just, right, he's high stress. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a surgeon, but I do know that in any job, like whether you're diffusing a bomb, operating on a patient, landing a plane with no landing gear, you don't have the right to abuse another human being that is trying to help you.
Exactly.
It's not like you were purposefully like, here, let me lick this and hand it to you. Like you're doing the best you can, like, and you're learning. So
exactly. It's just the culture. And that's what people like, well, if you don't have thick skin, it's not about having thick skin. It's about having respect. I'm not going to be around people that are going to constantly disrespect me and think it's okay.
And that's what I want to say. Okay. So what does thick skin mean to you? Does thick skin mean I get to get yelled at, get to get struck? Get to be talked down to, get to be sworn at, get to be yelled at? That's thick skin to you? No, thick skin to me is somebody says like, hey, I know you might have learned this one way, or you might be new. This is how we do it here. These are the correct ways to do it. And then you take that information, you assimilate it with what you know, and you do it correctly. Thick skin is not having someone smack you like you're a child that did something wrong for the third time after being
naughty, you naughty girl.
Right. No, you're an adult. You're in a professional role. You graduated from college. And it's not like there's ever a point in time where another coworker should strike you. Furthermore, don't strike even if it was just like a smack on the hand, you're in front of an open surgical field. What if you had dropped that instrument? Then what? it's just, there's no time for that nonsense. There's so many reasons why that's inappropriate. It's not like have thicker skin. No, my skin is thick. My skin is not here to be abused.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so sorry, that stuff gets on my nerves. It's like, don't tell me to have thick skin.
Exactly.
Don't tell me just to fucking take it.
And it's funny because like some of the preceptors that I had, they would tell me like, yeah, because they would kind of, judge like all the new nurses coming in the OR, and they'd be like, yo, you're one of the ones that everybody really likes. And in my mind, I'm like, if you only know, I'm about to be out of here.
Yeah. And also it's like, okay, so if you guys are all talking about how much you like me, does that mean you're all talking shit about everybody else?
Probably.
I mean, what does that say? Oh, good, I made the cut. Like, what if I didn't make the cut? What about my friends? What about the other nurses that I look up to? What about the ones that I thought were doing well? Like, yeah, what does that say? Oh, they're all sitting around making a list of the top 5 new grads. Like, no, that doesn't make me feel better. Like, oh, good, I'm not on the most hated list. Cool. So yeah. So, but like, always to like bring it back to like the positive side, there's a lot of toxic stuff that happens, but also I do know people that like love their OR jobs, stay in the OR, have figured out how to navigate that, that do have that quote unquote thick skin, whatever that means. But sometimes, you do have to find that way to be like, muster, hold back that emotion and be like, tell me how you want me to hand you this. I'm going to shove it up your ass. No, tell me how you want me to do this, but please do not physically put your hands on me again.
Right.
Like have that control, even though in your head, you're like you're like saying a prayer, like, please keep me from punching this man in the throat. Like, please help.
You're arguing with me, but I have this scalpel right now.
Yeah, like I need this job. I need a paycheck. I have a child at home that needs to eat. But all kidding aside, like you got to know when it's time to go. You got to know when it's like, this is not my environment. Exactly. And I'm glad that you were able to make that call for yourself and be like, 4 months was like a few months too long.
Yeah, that was the shortest nursing job I ever had.
I mean, sometimes the blessing is that you're able to make that decision definitively and say like, the other jobs I had, maybe I didn't love them. They taught me something. I was able to stick it out for a while. But when it's not right, you've got to listen to your gut. You've got to listen to your intuition and say like, I am not here on this earth to like work a job that I cannot stand. So
yeah, there's no way I could have still been doing that. But I will say I did get to see a lot of interesting surgeries while I was there for those short 4 months. So I'm very appreciative of that. I got to see, unfortunately, a man he was young, had passed away from a bee sting. So I don't think he knew he was even allergic. And so they did a transplant some of his organs. So that was very interesting to watch. And then I also got to see reassignment surgery.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I think it was female to male. Mm-hmm. So that was very interesting. He had already got his top done. He was getting his bottom done. So that was very interesting.
So yeah, you get to see a lot of, and as far as like the transplant, like the donor transplant surgery, I work with patients that receive lungs all the time. And a lot of those families, that's like the second chance for them. But a lot of them also like on the day that they celebrate their transplant birthday, they also have like a remembrance or memorial ceremony for the donors that they received their transplant from. So I think that's pretty cool. And in terms of reassignment surgery, we are recording this at the very beginning of June. So this probably will come out in July, but it is actually Pride Month. And so we get to like give a little shout out to all of our trans brothers and sisters and recognize them and say that, you know, we see them. And even if you're not someone who wants to do reassignment surgery, like it's cool that these options are available to people. And I hope that people who have access, you know, have the, you know, I wish everyone had the ability to be able to do these things when they wanted to. But I've seen a few people, I've followed vlogs and stuff of people that have gone through reassignment surgery. And I actually have a casual acquaintance that has recently had top surgery and is very excited that they finally now feel like it's summer, they can go to the pool. Like, so yeah, those are very interesting things. I'm glad you got to see those. And now that you're working in insurance, you like, as you're coding all this stuff, you have like this understanding of like,
and all the medical records, you know, because I was in the OR, it all makes sense. A lot of the surgeries make sense because I got to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to correct something that I said. I said trans brothers and sisters, but I also want to recognize people that identify as like non-binary as well. So not to use that binary language. I'm still trying to like learn and correct and grow. And like, so yeah, that's me correcting myself and growing in my language. So yeah, I wanted to make that correction as well in what I said. So yeah. So that's a lot of cool stuff in the OR. I've been to the OR, like when I take patients down to like drop them off. And I'm the person that's like at that line where they're like, do not cross this line. And I'm like looking over the line, like, oh, what do I see? What can I peep? But I've been inside like procedural areas, but I've never actually been inside the OR. So I've watched stuff on YouTube. I've watched like cranies and cabbages and stuff like that on YouTube. But yeah, I can watch a cranny, but if a breast reduction ever, I'm like, nope, can't watch that. Nope, don't want to see that. Nope, that's a little too much for me.
Yeah, I'm guessing you don't watch botched. That's probably the closest.
No, no, that's a little, that makes my titties hurt. Anyway, so yeah, so after the OR, how did like you made your transition away from the OR, and then what happened after that? I just love hearing people's nursing journeys. I want to hear more.
So actually, one of my old preceptors from psych, she's the one that, you know, we always kept in touch. She was always kind of been like a big sister to me, and I talk about her in my book. And she was the one that actually told me about this position, and it just came at the right time. I swear it did. So she told me about it. She told me to apply, told me what to expect. And I went on 2 different interviews. And actually, the first interview I had that same day, I actually had another interview because I was working with an agency, a nursing agency. And this lady would, you know, she would let me know anything that was available and ask me if I was interested, if she wanted me to, you know, put my resume towards that position. So I had another interview that same day at a surgical center, because I figured, well, at least I won't have to be in the OR as long. It'll be quick in and out surgeries. But then when I really evaluated it, I'm like, well, it's still not going to be a regular 8 hours. I'm still have to get up early, get there before the first case, can't leave until the last person's able to leave. So, and then I got to factor in traffic. So I'm still not getting a cut and dry 8 to 4, 9 to 5, whatever. So I'm like, And then after that interview, she actually asked me, she's like, do you want me to push for that job? And I'm like, no, even though I didn't know if I had, you know, the current job that I have now, I didn't know if they were even going to schedule me for another interview. But I just put it in God's hands. And I said, you know, I'm not going to tell her yes to this job. And then they start my paperwork and everything. And then I'm like, yeah, bye. So I don't like doing all that. It's a waste of time. So I was just like, no, I don't want you to push for it. So I just waited for them to let me know about the second interview. They did, and I got the job, and I've been there ever since.
Nice. So you do now have the like 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever your
Yeah.
situation is, and you're working from home. So
Mhm.
it sounds like that started before all of the like social
Yeah.
distancing pandemic stuff happened. So,
Mhm.
so baby girl is really excited because mom's always home.
Yes.
And so she's living the life where she just gets to
Mhm.
come into the office and be like, give me
Yeah.
snacks,
Yeah, with a coworker.
give me a hug. So, can you tell me just, I mean, you don't have to go down into the nitty gritty, but like, what's that job like? So, that's like you clock in the morning, you log on to your computer, you're like at home, get to like make a little pasta in the afternoon while you're waiting.
Exactly. Yeah, it's obviously it's a daytime job. It's kind of like, there's some people that log on a little earlier than others. Some people might get on a little later. As long as you get your work done, do your 8 hours, it's flexible. Say, for instance, like if I had a doctor's appointment in the morning, I'll just let them know, hey, my supervisor know, hey, I have a doctor's appointment, but I won't be gone for more than 2 hours. They're like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have to like put in any time to do that. I just go, come back, just stay on a little longer to finish my work. And that's that. So, and I know some people say that when they work from home, they don't know how to cut it off, like cut off, I'm at home, cut off, I'm actually at work. I need to take a break. I need to take a lunch break. But because even in like the first 6 months, I had to be in the office, and then, they evaluate you to make sure they feel comfortable enough for you to work by yourself at home. I mean, you still have to come in once a week and for mandatory meetings, but on those days, I still kept it strict. Like when I'm at home, I still, I'll get breakfast, I'll start my work, I'll take a lunch break. Now there's times where I'm so wrapped up and just trying to get done. So I might wait to eat a little longer. But ever since she came along, I have to force myself to get up because I got to feed her. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She keeps your schedule in check.
Yes, exactly. But I never like let other things get in the way of my work. Like I'm not like some people are, oh, well, I'm at home, so let me go, wash some clothes. I'll still get stuff done around the house, but I won't let it interfere with like, I'm taking 2-3 hours to get stuff done. I'll just do it real quick, come right back and do what I need to do. So,
yeah.
But it's
because the sooner you finish, the sooner you can like clock out. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's a beautiful job. I'll never leave it, especially now. Like I got the job just in time because I got it like a year. I want to say a year and a half before I had her. So it's because I have some old coworkers that I've worked with where they ask me, how did you get that job? How can you get in? Because they have young kids and they don't even want to be working the floor or, for long hours or working night shift, not being able to spend time with their kids during the day. So anybody that reaches out for something like this, I just try to give them tips on what to look for, because this is not the only insurance agency that has this type of job. There's other ones. So.
I know. I just got a job that I'm really excited about that I'm moving for. And even I'm like, how do I get this job? I'm like, I just got a job. Settle in.
Yeah. So what do you do?
So right now I work on a progressive care unit. I live in Southeast Iowa right now, but at the time of this recording, this will come out in a few weeks, but at the time of this recording, I am moving to Minneapolis in like 19 days. And I'm taking a job as a med-surg float nurse, and I'm really excited about it. I'm going to be at a big hospital up on the south side of Minneapolis. So yeah, I'm super stoked about it. I feel like I finally got enough experience that I can handle it. And I'm really, really excited. It's that private hospital money now, leaving the public hospital for the private. Minnesota pays their nurses very nicely. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, that's the, I start that like it's June 3rd. I start that July 12th. So
congratulations.
Yes. Thank you very much. When we get off this call, I'm going to buy myself some new scrubs. So I'm going from gray to navy. So I don't look bad in navy. It'll be a good trade. So,
oh my God, I haven't worn scrubs and
I've got like a whole part of my closet that's just like we wear pewter right now. So I've already betrothed that whole section of scrubs to a friend of mine. And so I'm switching over to navy. So yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So even though I would love to have a work from home job, I'm also one of those people that I really thrive on like plus if I didn't have a job where I moved around, I would just be at this computer like all day long and I would weigh like 400 pounds. So I gotta get up and move. But yeah, I have had fantasies about like, oh, working from home. I don't have children. So it would really just be me eating Cheetos with my feet up and like a back massager on my chair. So that's like that I'll eventually get there, but I've still got some kick in my step. So I'm gonna keep at the bedside for a little longer. But let's talk about, so throughout all of this, you have written a book, Nursing at Its Finest. So let's spend some time talking about this. Where did the idea first pop up of like, I got to put these words down on paper and share them with people? Talk a little bit about this.
Well, actually, me and a friend from my first college, we were in a program that started the summer before we actually started our freshman year of college, and it was for health and science majors. So it was kind of cool that we got to kind of meet people before we even started college. So she was the only one that was pre-nursing major like myself. So we connected and we've been friends ever since. Actually, she just got married not too long ago. She had to postpone it since last year because of COVID. So, but yeah, she's a nurse as well. So we both, we're going through the same thing. She's still in the hospital, but I'm not. But on our drives to work, because we both work night shift, we would always talk on the phone, like on our way to work before we went in there, just to kind of mellow each other out. Mm-hmm. So we both talked about, hey, maybe we should write about our experiences. And initially it was supposed to be like my part, then her part, then we would like come together. But she like can't keep still. So I continued with it. So it took me like a few years to fully complete it, because I would start writing something, then I would stop for a while. You really have to have like that mindset to like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write such and such amount of pages. So I had to really force myself to finish it. And what helped was, during the pandemic, I'm just like, here, throw it away. I'm just like,
I saw it's available at Barnes and Noble, Amazon. Yeah. So yeah, people, and I'm going to make sure that I link all of this in the show notes so that people can like link right over and get this book. So I'm excited. I also am starting like my little collection of like my library of authors that I've had on the show. So this is going to be the next one that I grab. So I would love to read this book.
Yeah, it's so cool to like Google your name and find, your book on all these websites. Like I didn't even realize they were going to be on like other like websites in other countries and stuff. I'm like, what? So I had to like, why not? I mean, we're all at home, something for me to do. So let me get this book finished. So that's when I finished it up early last year. And I finally was like, you know what? I have to hurry up and stop procrastinating, just look for a publisher and get the show on the road. And I did it. Sorry, give me one second.
No, it's cool. It's all right. Little baby intermission. Here at Nursing Uncensored, we don't mind stopping for the little ones. Just takes a second. It's all good. See, I told you. It's a casual chat around here. Get on it.
On the phone, I'm hearing Ron.
Yeah, that's okay. We'll cut him some slack this time. It's the power of the edit.
Thank God.
So finally found a publisher. You've got this book out, and
emailed my publisher one day, like, is this legit? Because I didn't know. I literally just thought it was going to be Books A Million, Barnes and Nobles, and Amazon, but it's also at Target. You can go online at Target and Walmart. Nice. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Did you ever think you'd be on the shelves at Target?
Well, that's the thing though. They're not in stores. It's only online.
But I mean, like, but still, like, people can go to Target, like Target.com, and like buy your book.
I know it's cool. It's just it's an amazing feeling. No matter how well the book does or not, like my ultimate goal was just to, if I can inspire just one person, that was it. And just the fact that living, having a book that has your name on it and you did it.
So who do you want to be reading your book? Like, who is this book for? Like, when you were writing it, who were you thinking you wanted to be reading this?
I was thinking of aspiring nurses like I was, people that, people that want to go to nursing school. I just want them to really understand what they're getting into, because some people go into fields thinking, oh, the money's, they make, they think nurses make so much money, but it's like, you really got to build yourself up and get to that level to make that kind of money. It's not just, because for the first couple of years, I didn't even get a raise.
And also, you're going to work for every dollar you make.
Every penny. Every penny. So really, aspiring nurses, new nurses, even seasoned nurses. I've had some seasoned nurses that have bought my book that have told me, given me some feedback that, just reading, like the one lady that got me this job, she has read the book about 2 or 3 times, and it's like when she rereads it, it gives her more inspiration to do more.
Doesn't that feel good that somebody read something you wrote like multiple times?
Yes.
What a compliment. What a great compliment.
Yeah, it really brightens my day when people like text me or they'll send me a message and tell me that, because it makes it worth it.
Mm-hmm. So. And that's kind of like, that's what inspired me to start this show. And like, that's what inspires me to talk to people like you, is that like, people are like, oh, another nurse on another show. The stories are so different.
Yeah.
And like the experiences and the outlook on things, like you are never going to talk to a nurse and get the same story twice. Mm-hmm. You could have the same group of nurses working, you could have a group of nurses working on the same unit over the same period of time, and they're all going to tell you different stories. Even if they tell you a story about the same patient, they're going to tell you different perspectives, the way it made them feel, the interactions they had. That's what I love about my job. Like I can have the same patient assignment, like 3 shifts in a row, and I never have the same experience 3 days in a row. I may have the same med list, the same wound care, like the same basic flow of the shift, but I'm never going to have those same interactions, the same way it feels. So I love the shared experiences. And I think that you can never hear too many stories from nurses. So that's why I'm always so excited when I hear like there's another nurse sharing her story or his story, because there's so much that we can get from each other. So I think that this is really important. And also what I was going to say is, as far as like experienced nurses reading, yes, new nurse is great, new grads, but sometimes when you switch jobs or you switch hospitals or you like level up, you feel like a new nurse again.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I feel like you can be a nurse for 10 years and you switch specialties or you switch jobs and you feel like that lost, like deer in headlights all over again. Exactly. So I think that there is something to be said about remembering what it feels like to feel like the new kid again. So
exactly. And it's funny because the job that I'm at now, I'm like one of the youngest people there. Like a lot of them are older. And so actually my manager's retired and tomorrow's her last day. But yeah, so it's very interesting because they'll be like, especially this one nurse, she's one of the people that trained me. And she always says to me, I'm glad we have your young brain, because it's like, it'll be like little things that I'll just figure out real quick. And they're like just so thankful to have like, somebody new, even though they've been in this job way longer than me. You never know when you're going to learn something new.
Yeah. That's why multi-generational nursing is such a good thing. Like, yeah, we're so different and we have different ways of doing things, but older nurses bring the experience. I bring the tech nerd stuff. So you tell me how you used to do this back in the 70s. I'll show you how to chart it on the brand new computer system. Like we can mesh our talents and make it work together. So yeah, that's super important. But yeah, that's a really valid experience. So, and that's why we need to remember that these new nurses coming up, like some nurses, some older nurses are like, I wouldn't eat the young if they weren't so damn cocky. And it's like, okay, but they're excited with what they've learned. Like you can still find ways to like teach and explain to them why that's not okay without being a total fucking bitch about it. Like, come on. I mean, really, let's be real. Like, you don't have to, it's going back to that surgeon. Like, you don't have to smack my hand to reinforce that this is not the way things are supposed to be done. Like, you don't have to treat me like I'm a 4-year-old that's misbehaving in order to get the message through. So I think that there's a lot of good in what I'm hearing from your message. I think that even though, you know, there's a lot of truth to the whole, like, this job wasn't for me, I felt like I kind of got the like nurses eat their young treatment. I think that we're not going to eliminate that magically just by like telling nurses like, be nice to the new grads. So in some ways we have to figure out how to deal with it as much as combat it and like eliminate it. And so dealing with the reality of things, not sugarcoating it for new grads is really, and it's also different from hospital to hospital, unit to unit. I was really lucky that I came onto a unit where the nurses were like super nice to me. I've had great experience. I consider them my friends, but I also know women who've like graduated from my nursing program and they went to a unit and they got their asses handed to them. And it's not okay. It's really not okay. But we're not gonna recruit more nurses to the profession and keep them here by being like, nursing is great, everything's fine, everybody's friends. That's not how we're gonna keep the profession thriving. So I think that honesty is so important. So
I want to let, you know, people in this field or want to be in this field know you just have to have a voice. You have to have a backbone. You have to advocate for yourself. Most definitely question everything.
Yeah.
You know, don't ever think that. And I think that was my issue with that particular story that I told you about. I felt like you said, I trusted her, so I didn't ask enough questions. Ask the question, even if it's a dumb question, just ask. That's how you learn what's important, what's not important to ask. So, I mean, I've had older nurses get reported for me, or I'm taking a report for them, and they're telling me every little nook and cranny that I don't even need to know. But
yeah,
like, seriously.
Pertinent information only. But yeah, so it's okay if you stand up for yourself. It's okay to ask questions. The thing is, do it with integrity all the time. You know, sometimes, you know, you want to smack that attitude right out of their mouth, but you have to remember that even when you're upset, you're angry, sometimes it's really hard to do, but you have to find the way to like keep your composure, maintain your integrity, and say like, I don't appreciate the way you're speaking to me. I am doing my best. I would like you to explain this to me, but I would like you to talk to me as a peer. Like, you know, there are ways that you can communicate, even if your voice is shaking, even if your hands are trembling. And then once you get used to advocating for yourself, it comes much more easily. So yeah, there have been times where I've even done that, where I've like said to that person, like, I really don't like the way you're talking to me. And then once that interaction is over, I go in the bathroom and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe. And you know, that person was like, okay, I'm sorry. Let's move on. And in my head, I'm going, oh my God, it worked. Oh my God, I can't believe that just worked. I can't believe I didn't just get my ass chewed out. But sometimes we need to trust ourselves and trust that we are professionals. You did graduate from college. You did pass your boards. You do deserve to be here. Just because you don't know everything, which guess what? Not even tenured nurses.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk, as we finish up, let's talk about will you reiterate again your website, where people can find you, what social media you like to hang out on?
Exactly. Yeah. So my website is I try to post, like, for instance, I have actually a Juneteenth event coming up. I'll be a vendor. It's in Stafford, Virginia. So if anybody's in the area and wants to stop by, again, it's for Juneteenth, June 19th.
June 19th. Yeah.
So there'll be several vendors out there and just have fun. I'm going to be promoting my book, of course. I'll have some little prizes and little games as well. And so I have that on the website, and I also have a Facebook invite on my Facebook. So you can go to my Facebook and my Instagram. Both of them are Queen of Health Dina. And I have a Twitter. I'm on it here and there, but that one is Queen of Health DM. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the whole thing on there.
All right. And I'll link all of those in the show notes so that people can find you. And I'll throw up a link I will include, I'll include a link to Nursing at Its Finest as well. So that if people want that, they can just click right through to that as well.
Yeah. Right on my website. I include the Barnes & Noble's Books A Million and the Amazon link. Of course, if you Google the name and the book name and my name, you can find it on other sites. But I just specifically put those three on my site so it'll be easier for people. And also, if you want a signed copy from me, you could just hit the PayPal button and I can send one to you as well.
Perfect. I'm so glad we got to talk today. This has been really great. And I really appreciate, I've been moving. It's been crazy. I've been packing. So I appreciate your message that you were like, hey, don't forget me. We got to talk to have, because those messages really have been saving me lately. My to-do list is like a scroll right now. So I'm really glad that we got to have this talk, and I'm going to post everything at nursinguncensored.com. We'll be all over all of the podcast sites. We'll be on YouTube. We're going to get this out to everyone. So
I can share this too once you post it.
You can share this everywhere. Share this with all your friends. Put this on your site, wherever you want to put it. And yeah, I'll get this out to everybody. Our listeners are going to love you because you have a lot of great things to say. And I'm going to get your book, and then I'll be reading it while I'm in Minneapolis, because there ain't going to be no reading between now and the next 19 days. I've got so much to do, but add you to my list of authors that have been gracing me and my listeners on this show. So you're part of the club now. Yay. Yay. Thank you, Deanna. And as I wish every nurse at the end of every show, happy nursing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.